I'm Thea Holtan, and I have taught for many, many years and designed instruction for many, many years. I started out as a high school teacher, and I'm now working as a media director in an elementary school. So I have the fortune of putting together some processes that seem to be working. Through the years, I have combined my Hilda Taba background, merged it with my Madeline Hunter training, and put it together with what I know about writing and what I know about library. And I'm a very fortunate person who's able to put all this together. However, I've had so many requests from people to come over to them to explain this to them, and I simply can't meet everyone's needs. So we decided to put this little tape together in hopes of trying to satisfy some of the needs that you have in getting just a glimpse of what this is all about. It's information kinds of things, not fictitious. And that's the part where we have a process throughout the United States called the writing process. I have a process called the thinking and writing process. The 5-step writing process is a process which pretty much focuses on writing and post-writing, revising. And my process pretty much focuses on pre-writing. There are 12 steps in the full level 3 of my process, and the first 9 are pre-writing. Step 10 is writing. So my process is pretty much written for those who aren't so successful at just writing it all out, getting it all out on paper, and then remolding and remodeling. My process is written for kids to be able to think things through first, get it all organized, be all set up physically, and then be able to write. What my process deals with, as I told you at the beginning, is 3 levels, level 1, 2, and 3. And they look like this, so that level 3 is the full-blown plan, and it has 12 major steps. Level 2, you can see where I've literally blocked out some steps, and I've taken level 3, moved it to level 2, and blocked out harder steps, so that children are growing, and they can add that, as they develop, they add the steps into level 3. Level 1, I've blocked out even more steps. So it's very, very possible. In first grade, we've done a lot of first grade writing with level 1. Kindergarten, many kindergarten teachers have done some writing with level 1 where they do the writing and the children tell them what to write. But definitely second grade can do it. And I would really like to tell you that definitely first grade can do it, especially in the spring of the year. About March on, they can do some modeling with 10 notes, and you give them the psychomotor experience. Level 1 is psychomotor. It is getting their hand coordination going, learning how to fold their notes into the folder, how to keep them, learning where to put their name, learning how to cuddle the first letter up to the margin, learning how to follow a period with the next sentence. Those are psychomotor things. And the whole process is built on psychomotor is most important at the beginning. It doesn't matter how old you are all at level 1 when you're learning. So when we're learning, psychomotor has to be first. That makes you emotionally sound if you feel psychomotor safe. And if you move into social, then you're even very social. The intellect is a byproduct when you're focusing on psychomotor. As you move to level 3, I think we should be moving more and more toward intellect. But first the psychomotor, emotional, the physical, emotional, social, and then the intellectual being can be developed in level 3. I want to point out something else. Many people use this process and they think it's a process for research writing. Research writing is only where you get your information. Research writing is an expository kind of writing, and it means that you've gotten your information from something other than your own knowledge. So what you want to be doing is focusing on both research and knowledge writing. Students will not transfer that if you don't teach it that way, so that everyone should have maybe 2 experiences a year of research and 2 of non-research writing, which would mean they'd be writing something every other month, which I don't think is too much. And they would get an idea of a process. It shouldn't be long and involved. The number of notes are very minimal. Even level 3 has only like 50 notes, no more than 60. And the process takes over. The product in my writing process is the byproduct, actually. The process is the thing that causes them to think and write. let me just highlight some steps for you to show you how they go. On the actual level 3, and I'm going to focus on level 3 because that has all the steps in it. In level 3, the first thing you do is choose a subject. Secondly, you find the information or use your own knowledge. Thirdly, you take notes without sentences. And the notes are on note cards, which are in 3 different levels, so that we have level 3 note card looking like this. Level 3 has a note card with the note, or the subject, the note, a for what reason question, like or unlike what question, example, and definition. It has a topic and a subtopic. Level 2 does not have this corner on it. It's the same note card, but level 2 does not have this note card on it. And here it is. Nothing here. You see I've blocked that out. Level 1 is even more simplified. But we have guidelines for the handwriting, and I even have one below this where we can block out the like or unlike what question and just have these 2 for children to make it more visually cleared for them. All right, so if they take their notes, they should not take notes in sentences. They take notes to themselves as reminders. Then we move on to step 3A, thinking of examples. Step 3B, thinking of definitions. C, reasons. D, likenesses. E, they learn how to plan their sentence patterns before they even get going. While all this detail is in their heads, they plan some varieties of sentence patterns so that when they sit down, that's already thought out for them. They've already given that some thought. And F, they think of words to call their subject so that it isn't always called the same thing, like mountains, they, mountains, they. What's another word for mountains? Gigantic structures, that type of thing. These steps are the processing steps. Thinking of the meanings, connecting notes to one another. They go through them one at a time. And because they do that, they have really exercised one note against the other over and over and over again, 6 different ways. From a examples perspective to a definitions perspective, from a reasons perspective, likenesses. So we have cause effect, comparison contrast, patterns of sentences, and synonyms. When they finish with these steps, they understand their notes. These are the steps that are missing when people say children should always write about something they know about. They should never be researching about something they don't know about. Anyone who says that does not understand how to use thinking processes with information. I learned this from Taba. This is the Taba part. Here's more Taba, sorting the notes. The children sort their notes, putting them into stacks. This is the hard part if we don't know how to teach that. We have to have them predicting what the names of the stacks will be. So they predict and they take the notes. And then they organize the notes in a way, and in a way that it'll be on their outlines, and they'll put them on an outline. And when they get them on the outline, it'll be on topic 1, 2, 3, 4 on the outline. And here's a level 1 outline to give you a very simple looking outline. We have a level 1 outline, and they become topic 1, 2, 3, 4 over here on level 1. Okay? And then in level 3, we move on to writing an introductory paragraph. And then we move on from that to arranging or making topic sentences so we can flow from one paragraph to the other. We move into outlining topics, subtopics, and into numbering notes. In the outlining subtopics, we also get into making transitional sentences when the kids are ready for that. So the new 1994 edition brings in transitions. Writing the product, as I said before, is step number 10. 11 is making a conclusion, writing a concluding paragraph. And 12 is going over the paper to find the changes that have to be made. So you can see clearly that this is not the largest part of the process I have to offer. But when they go over the paper, I do have some processes for that to happen. For example, this is a form that they use to check themselves. They read these questions about their whole report before they do anything, after they finish writing their paper. But the first thing they do is read these questions. Then they place these questions over the sentences, one sentence at a time. They read the whole sentence and they read every one of the questions here. They read the next whole sentence and examine it. And this process slows them down to do some self-examining. Here's my very favorite question, and if you don't get any more than this to even take back to what you're doing right now, I would love to know that I've helped you to make a difference. Here's my favorite question. Do I feel uneasy about any of my spelling? That is the skill we're really teaching. We're not teaching that they should know when they have and haven't misspelled words or how to misspell all the words in the dictionary. But number 4, do I feel uneasy about any of my spelling? And just to have that inkling and the confidence to put a little light circle around that word so that later they can go back and figure out how to fix that word in their memory and how to repair it on their reports. That's a very important skill, far more realistic skill than knowing how to spell all the words. So that's one of the processes for fixing their reports. Another process we have for fixing the reports deals with using a form. This too comes in 3 levels, but here's the 3rd level. And this form gives them a checklist, and they can go in and they can examine their title page, their outline, their written pages. They can examine the paragraphs and the mechanics. They can look for keywords that they have not learned how to spell and make connections. And they can get credit, putting an X on every spot that they had trouble with. Finding their own, they get credit for everything they got wrong. And it ends up being a bonus rather than a handicap to find your own mistakes. And that's level 2. Of course, there's another level. That's our level 3, and this is level 2, and this is level 1, just for finding your own mistakes. So the process has 3 different levels to it. Another thing that I have is when they are writing their reports, there are templates that I have available for children so they can lay this underneath their writing paper and make a title page. For example, when they lay the paper over here, they can see title goes right here, and so they write it, because children have a tough time with spatial relationships. And this makes a very nice title page for them if they're not using the computer. Finally, I think I should bring out the fact that not only do these steps work very, very well for expository writing, which means you start with you have a topic paragraph and topic sentences and supporting details. That's what expository writing is. But it works very, very well for narrative writing, which it means it doesn't have to be fiction to be narrative. It can be nonfiction narrative. Or it works very well for persuasive writing. So another is descriptive writing, and that takes care of our kinds of writing. If we have fictional narrative, which I talked about first, or just non-fictional narrative, using this process, or persuasive, meaning opinions supported with supporting evidence, or descriptive, meaning imagery, creating images, appealing to the senses of whatever senses you can appeal to. All of those are the different forms of writing. And I found that I can take a research report, a research subject, the children can be researching whatever they are researching, keep the notes for several weeks, turn around and have them pull out key notes, add some more, and write a narrative. Wait a couple more weeks and write a persuasive document, so that they're focusing on the different forms of writing, not loading up all new information and getting all ready all over again at that level. They can keep the same information and load it up. I can also do that with a unit maybe that they've learned. We've learned a unit on electricity, or we've studied a unit on conservation, and take that same information and have kids write about it from different perspectives. Then have them go to their readings, and as they're reading, be able to recognize, oh, there's a persuasive piece in this writing, or here's a piece of a little bit of descriptive writing. This author chose instead to write a narrative. That kind of thing makes them very astute readers. And to teach the reading and the writing backward is a very important skill for the children to have. That pretty much highlights what I'd like to share with you about the process, it can be purchased through Thea Holtan at Thea Thought Press in Minneapolis. If you're interested, you might want to drop us a note, and hopefully this tape has helped you a little bit more to understand what we're getting at. I'm going to talk about two kinds of writing and reading. One of them is fiction and the other is nonfiction. I'm going to begin with the fiction because it's the one that tends to be slighted the most. People don't quite get to that. And it's a really simple process that I designed that I think would work very well for you. Everything I've done is in 3 levels. Level 1, 2, and 3. And what I've done is designed what I want to have happen in level 3. And I erase some of it to level 2, and erase even more to level 1. And what I've done in fiction is very similar. I have only made 2 levels, however, because I didn't feel right now that the level 3 is appropriate. But I have a 3rd level, which is much, much harder in fiction, which is ready. I know what I want it to be. But level 1 and 2 are ready for the consumer at this time. And what this means in terms of fiction is that in level 1, I'll start with level 1, we have a form which children can fill out, and we call it fiction analysis. Now, analysis means taking apart and examining. And when they read a book, they should be able to take the parts apart and examine them. There are 3 elements, and they should be able to take them apart on these element sections. And when they examine them, they should examine the characters in terms of their appearance, their behaviors, personality, motivations, and feelings. And they should examine the plot in terms of its problem, its solution, the key steps, and how they're related to each other. And they should be able to examine the setting in terms of where the story took place, when, and how much time passed. The purpose or theme should be examined in terms of a conclusion we could draw from the plot, character, and setting, and what happens, and whether there's just a general purpose of some kind or a specific purpose, or if there's a lesson or a theme given. Now that is the level 1 fiction analysis form, level 1. We can move on with this level 1 form and have it filled out, have the children fill it out as we've done with Peter Rabbit by Beatrix Potter. And once they fill it out, they could also turn this into an essay form. This could be an analysis form all by itself, or they could analyze a story on television. Whatever, anything fictitious. But if you want them to turn it into a paragraph form, that's also possible. So what they would do then is make a paragraph out of the character information first, then out of the plot information second, and out of the setting information on their second page third, and make a paragraph about the purpose or theme fourth. So they would use this then as an outline, more or less. Finally, what they can do with this form is create a story. What they would do first of all is plan the purpose or theme, then the characters and describers for the characters, then the plot and its problem and all the steps that get to it, and then where, when, and how much time passed in the setting. So that's what's involved in the fiction part, level 1. Level 2 is one step up from that. It's involving adding not just the elements, not just the theme or purpose up in the corner, but how the elements bring out the purpose or theme, and how the literary devices are building those elements. The element of character, how these are the literary devices, which ones apply to that story that you're reading right now. Plot and the literary devices, setting, mood or tone, meaning, theme, purpose, or theme, symbolism, and purpose. Descriptive language, and what kids should be doing, what they do is circle the words that apply to the story that they read. They also can turn this into a written form, and write a book analysis from this, using this as their outline. So this can be an outline, it can be the analysis itself, or it can be turned into expository writing, or you can also use this form for a book analysis or book creation. So we end up creating another story, and the kids can either tell their story or write it. I've seen fourth graders, for example, sitting with this form in front of them along the side of the computer. This is the form that's all written out. First they planned this, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth. They circled the literary devices they were going to be using, and they created their stories. So that's the fiction element, or the fiction piece that I have to deal with here. And I wanted to be sure that I've shared this with you